Well, hello everyone. How are you? This is Esther Molina from Spain. I'm a journalist specialized in innovation and in technology, also in startups and entrepreneurship. I currently write for Forbes here in Spain and another newspaper here in Spain, who's called D plus I El Español. I'm also the co-founder of my PR agency, Wildcom, and of the Female Startup Leaders Association, a community where we are bringing together the founders of the most innovative Spanish-speaking startups. So we continue in this global metaverse forum, and now we are going to start a very interesting panel, which it's called the visibility of women in the metaverse. We have already seen that both the metaverse and Web3 in general are going to lead this new digital paradigm. And yes, in this new paradigm, we continue to find gender gaps, of course. The metaverse, still in the experimental moment that we are all living, already has several particular challenges for women. From the design of the hardware to the interaction with unknown users, researchers are discovering that, as in almost everything in the metaverse, one does not live the same as a man or as a woman. How can gender be an important variable in a digital world, but just as real as the physical world? This is important because just because it's digital, it doesn't mean that it's less real. This is important. We are going to speak with the speakers, of course, of the panel, which I want to say hello right now. We have, for example, Alex Porter. She's CEO and founder of Modtex Lab. How are you, Alex?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about this important topic.
Thank you. Thank you to you. And we also have Nova Lorraine from Yebu Ambassador. How are you, Nova?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you, guys, for participating. I really want to hear from you. To begin with, actually, I would like you to tell us what the company you lead are. I mean, for example, Alex, what do you guys do in Modtech Labs?
Yeah, absolutely. So Modtech Labs is an automated solution to make 3D content for any type of virtual world. So we take photos, videos, scans, or meshes. We do the 3D content creation or the optimization for the given playback device or platform. So really simplifying the ability to actually make interoperable content and ultimately expand the use case of content and the ability for anyone to make it more effectively.
That's great. And Nova, you're ambassador from Yubo. Am I right? Yubo is the name?
WeU, yes. I'm an ambassador for WeU, which is a market.
That's
Yes,
right. What do you do in WeU?
Yeah, well, I support the team sharing the news around NFTs, marketplaces, crypto, where we offer access to founders, to creators that want to launch their own NFT projects and do it in an easy way, but then also allow their customers, their users, their community to more easily access those digital assets. In addition to that, I'm also an advisor to several projects and an ambassador also to the Fashion League, which supports bringing more young women and women into the space of Web3 and technology as well. And as a founder and creator for Raindrops NFT Art House and a lead for a new Metaverse World, which we'll be announcing soon. Very, very passionate about increasing the number of women leaders and women creators within technology. And of course, we know the future of tech is all things Web3 at the moment. And we've also heard Web4, Web5 coming very quickly down the way.
That sounds great. Thank you. And how do you think, both of you, how do you think women could influence the construction of the metaverse? What experience with the metaverse do you have at this moment? For example, Alex.
Yeah, so we've been in what I consider the greater technology space for the metaverse. So it's that sort of alphabet soup of acronyms. So AR, VR, MR, XR, AI, IoT, ML, all the things, right? What I look at as far as Web3 and the metaverse, which I consider two sides of the same coin, to be honest, is that all of these combinations of technologies are coming together now. They've been in silos, so they've been sort of disconnected and they haven't been very functional together yet. But we're seeing now they're all converging into what we're starting to form as the early metaverse. And so we've been in this space with both companies. So this company is about 3 years old. Our previous company was an XR studio that we ran for 5 years. So we created from scratch a ton of experiences, primarily on the corporate side, geared toward training, education, and sort of functional AR VR tools in the early days, rather than entertainment based. And so our focus has always been on how do we enable more people to access this technology in an approachable way that allows them to actually grow their prospects in the world, right? Learning in VR is much more effective. Using AR is a much better training tool because you can have that interaction of the physical and the digital, right? So there are so many wonderful implications and opportunities that haven't been widely explored yet. And we're seeing on the women's side, of course, is that it's super important to not only think about that. You mentioned the hardware side. There are literally some issues with the hardware. So women tend to have smaller interpupillary distance, meaning their eyes are closer together. This can also translate into different ethnicities as well. That tends to be can be a problem. So these things need to be accounted for, and we need to have hardware that's more flexible for women to actually be able to more functionally use it. Hand controllers obviously are sort of one size fits all at this point. So there's a wide variety of places in the hardware space that we can iterate. On the software side, of course, it is everything from bringing more women onto your team so they can be represented, they can actually have a piece and a part in the creation of these experiences because they bring a different perspective than their male team members would. And I think it's a wide problem that, people assume that, oh, if I'm going to be in technology, I have to be a technologist. I have to be a coder. I am not a coder. I am on the business side, but I've been in the tech world. I've been in the tech world for 8 years, very deep into emerging technology. And I think it's important to remember that even in technology, you can be there, you can be a part of it, you can be a support, because we still need accounting, we still need marketing, we still need all of these sort of more traditional job roles that don't include coding or really heavy technical skills. So I think that's sort of where I sit. And I mentor also with Girls in Tech, and a couple of other programs that are particularly around educating from a very young age. Hey, girls, if you're interested in this, let's get you that STEM education. Let's get you access to the tools and the coding things that you want and need. Let's get you into things that could be applicable in that world. Go explore your passions and take it on full force.
Yeah, I'm absolutely, completely agree with you. Nova, what do you think? Are you agree with Alex? What do you think about the woman role in this construction of the metaverse?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree with Alex. I mean, the role of women is so important because we bring such a unique perspective and different interests coming into the space. We saw the rise of gaming, which is really exciting and wonderful, and on a lot of technologists and coders coming in. But we know, from the onset, that area did not have a lot of diversity in it to begin with. And so when you're looking at Web3 and you're looking at the metaverse as the beginning of a new paradigm, and it's very skewed based on who the initial builders are, is it truly going to serve all? We see the internet now in serving so many aspects of our lives, right? Entertainment, education, and work, And so if we're looking at the future of the internet and doing all those things and only a small percentage of individuals are builders, then we're doing a disservice to the community at large. What I've seen specifically in terms of what women are bringing in, those that are leading projects and creating projects, are they're looking at sustainability more than the male counterparts, and not just sustainability as it relates to eco-friendly objectives, but also in durability. Are these projects going to sustain over time? Are they going to be around for 5 or 10 years? Looking at the profit as, from the onset as secondary, but more mindful projects are the priority. Also looking at bridging the gap between who they're working with. I see a lot of women leaders really reaching out and creating those bridges for those that are in Web 2 to come into Web 3, those that are already in the space, working collaboratively together. So it's definitely more of let's rise together sort of a mindset as it relates to a lot of women working in this space. And then the interest that they're bringing, there's a lot of educational platforms that are being created by women that are offering this knowledge to the greater community. In terms of NFTs, a lot of these projects have very charitable mission-driven objectives as well. A lot of empowerment initiatives. So I feel when we're increasing diversity, especially as it relates to gender within the space of technology, you're going to get a more balanced view, more balanced ideas, and how those ideas are executed. We're talking about worlds right now. We're talking about immersive environments. And if they're only built, again, by a small fraction of builders that come with a specific interest and skill set, then those that are participating in those worlds and environments are going to feel a little left out based on features, based on what's brought in from an experiential standpoint. And so I think that it's imperative that we have a more balanced representation of women within the space, IoT, Web3, the metaverse, AR, VR, AI, all of those things. And it's going to take those of us that are in the space to be intentional and reaching out across the water, being that bridge and bringing them on board.
Mm-hmm. And do you think, are there barriers or stoppers with which women can feel intimidated, maybe, especially when they are starting in the metaverse and in Web3 and, in general? What do you think about this, Alex?
Absolutely. Even if you think about the slew of sort of definitions that you need to understand, what are all of these things and how are they applicable to me and the thing that I want to build or I want to be involved with? There are a lot of sort of conflicting definitions at this point. There's not a lot of standardization, and so even finding the right place to start sometimes is challenging. And so I definitely encourage women to look at some of the standards committees that are being formed, and these are sort of pockets that are a little bit more sort of geared potentially from particular companies, but I find that there are a lot of groups. So Kronos, for instance, is one, the Consumer Technology Association. I'm positive that there are some great standards groups happening in Europe too. I'm just not familiar with what they are right now. We're a little bit more US focused at this time, but Consumer Technology Association, we actually work with them on the standard side. So their big show is CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, every January. Their standards and sort of lobbying side, if you will, is created to specifically vie for technologists, on behalf of technologists in regard to, regulatory, essentially, and standardization and best practices. And so finding a good resource to understand, how all these things come together. There are some metaverse groups that have started. They're still very much in their early days, but even going back and looking at those technology pieces that are contributing to the metaverse is a really important place to start, so that you can understand, where do you want to focus? Are you more interested in the AI side, the blockchain side, the VR side? And that, it's all going to come together at some point, but you're probably picking one sort of technology, lane to begin. And then from there, really, it's about educating yourself deeply in those. There are a lot of great free courses out there. There's a lot of wonderful ways to get started and really fantastic groups. One of the things that I love about the women in technology groups, they're very collaborative. They really are, Nova mentioned sort of rising tides, rise all ships. That is definitely, I think, a mentality that a lot of women in this tech industry and emerging tech industry have, because we all need to push each other forward for everyone to continue to rise. So I see some, some barriers and some opportunities that can definitely shift quickly. And then there's also the opportunity for, content creation itself. So that's obviously like sort of our focus as our company. But the main thing that I think is accessible tools, whether that is for what we're doing or something else completely. It's about finding tools that make it simple for the non-technical to execute. we're all very much in this like instant gratification sort of mindset in our lives. We like our instant deliveries and our grocery pickup and all of these things. If we can do that more effectively with sort of the underlying pieces and parts of how we create these metaverse worlds, then I think that people are going to be quicker to adopt it. If it's not this huge technical barrier that they have to overcome to even start, then I think that we're on the right track there. That's how I kind of frame that.
And Nova, it's possible that if there are more and more metaverse projects founded by women entrepreneurs, maybe this virtual world will become more and more inclusive. And I don't know, I was thinking about that listening to Alex.
I 100% agree, and was definitely going to touch on that. We definitely need more leaders and decision makers in the space. We have tools that are accessible to us if we're diligent enough to go online, read the blogs, watch YouTube videos. You know, we can launch an NFT project. But then what? You have to grow a community. You have to build a team. It's just like any other business. You have a product or service you're putting out there, and you need all the resources to support the growth and maintenance of that. And so with leaders that are in the space, like Tara Stevens, Daniela Merlano, Carolina Genova, that are reaching out to women and providing opportunities for them, may it be exposure, may it be a platform for them to speak, or for an opportunity for them to work, I think this is critical. And then also men that recognize the importance and the value that we're bringing, you know, to this space, that are giving us the opportunity as well to lead their enterprises, you know, to lead their teams. And so if there are more people at the table, then we can open up the door to more women. If more women are represented at the table, we can bring more women in, right? And then we still see the financial barriers still there. So yes, once you get over the educational barrier in terms of the knowledge and the terminology and how to use the tech, then there's the financial barrier. And we still are working with women projects, female-led projects getting funded. And again, it's a matter of everyone at the table, not just women, but men alike, that are intentional in terms of supporting women and their ideas financially as well, because we need to build a team and we need to pay the team. You know, we as women tend to be more collaborative and we'll support each other. But at the end of the day, we still have families that we need to feed. And so we're going to need those resources in order to grow and scale in the space. And then the more enterprises and the more projects that scale, the more opportunities that we can offer to women that are interested. Another barrier that I see is that if there's an interest, a lot of women don't even know where to start. You know, what is that first door that I open, right? Price is Right. What's the right door that you're going to go in? And it's a little scary taking that first step. So even having, you know, communities and conferences and summits that are really paying attention to that, you know, the nervousness around what's the first step? Okay, I'm interested. What do I do now? And providing mentors, providing, you know, platforms for networking so women can, you know, at their own pace, enter into this new paradigm shift.
You have mentioned some names, but I was going to ask you, do you know initiatives and projects led by women that now are making a difference in the metaverse? Nova.
Yeah, so going back to some of the names, Tara Stevens is one of the leaders with the Women of the Future book, which recognized 100 leaders in technology in the future of tech, where as a woman in the space or outside of the space, you can go to and read about these stories, read about the advice that's offered, and seek those individuals out as your guide into this new, you know, this new paradigm, this new adventure that we're on. Right? We have executives and leaders such as Carolina Genova, who is the COO of WeU, that has created women-led communities for safe spaces for us to communicate with each other, network with each other, support each other. I've used these women communities to look for, you know, new staff members and team members for my own projects. You know, and so again, if we're looking at leaders that are saying, okay, I'm in this space, but I'm going to do more. I'm going to also be a bridge. I'm going to be a platform. I'm going to be a mentor. You know, I'm going to be an employer of other women. I think that's key. You know, this new project I'm a part of, which is a new fashion related metaverse world, the founders were keen enough, 2 male founders were keen enough to reach out to me to lead the team, to grow this, you know, new venture. So again, it's going to take men too, that see our abilities and what we can bring as a value standpoint and bring us into the fold as well.
What about you, Alex? Can you bring us some names?
Yeah, so Sandy Carter at Unstoppable Domains, they actually launched a group called Unstoppable Women of Web3. I think that one has been a really interesting and super global community, which has been pretty powerful. Obviously, there's a lot, of movement sort of across the world with this, and I think that's another wonderful aspect of the metaverse is and potentially the last few years, right? I feel like we've become a much more integrated global community, whereas it was much more separated before. And so there's a great group there. Kathy Hackle is one that always comes to mind. She's been in sort of the XR space for a long time. She's very much in the fashion world. And I saw an article the other day that she was the first chief metaverse officer. And I was like, that is probably true, to be honest. She was talking about the metaverse well before it was a coined term, an acceptable, wide term. So I think that there's some great movement and work there that she's doing, and especially just for visibility and opportunity. And of course, there are so many others. Those are just a couple that come to mind on sort of different sides of the, the paradigm of the metaverse. But there are amazing groups out there. Even honestly, like I'm still on Facebook. I'm that person. I'm like, Facebook groups is my jam. And so I angle in that direction. But there's some great XR women groups. And just go look. And if you don't know, honestly, look. Into Twitter. Twitter's a great opportunity to just search your key terms, and there are a ton of conversations happening that you can get on. You can start following people, learn more, figure out how to connect, and how to also be a mentor for others. If you have this experience, one of the reasons I love talking on panels like this is to talk about the opportunity for others that have this knowledge to contribute back to the community, because that's how we all grow.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, I just wanted to also share, Layla Hurstel, our All-Star Women's. That's a great NFT and DAO community. The Fashion League is also founded by Teresa, and she's CEO and founder, and that's also a really great woman-led project that's looking out for women and young girls and bringing them into IT and the future of technology.
Well, we have a few minutes before I have to say goodbye to this powerful woman who's creating the metaverse too. But maybe for saying goodbye, I want to ask you the last question. What can be done to attract more women to Web3 and the metaverse, of course?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great opportunity there for, I think, honestly, corporate down. And I'm seeing this to some extent already. If you think about, Meta hiring up everyone in the world to fill their coffers with content and and other things tech-wise, there are a lot of job opportunities, right? And so
Yep.
this upskilling piece, I think, is really important, especially if you're coming from a more traditional sort of tech background or a non-tech background. I think employers should start considering offering training and upskilling and certification programs that can really bridge that gap between the traditional and the new. So there's a great chance there for them to bring more people in, especially, we look at the 3D content side and we're just like, wow, this is amazing how much there is a lack of talent and how much opportunity there is, even with the tools that we're making, which are automated solutions. Like, the goal is actually to make sure that artists can have more time to create and more hands-on experience, right? And so the other piece of this is really about making sure that the tools are there so that people can experiment and play and do it sort of in their free time, right? Where it's less risky than trying to get a job in a new role. I think that's a piece of it as well. Really making sure that there are functionalities and chances for people to play with these things before they get into the metaverse, if you will. And so, obviously moving women up, right? If you're already in an organization, you're already championing, the metaverse efforts or, what have you, making sure that they do get those leadership roles and that they are heard and that they are really participating in the creation and iterations of how these things are being formed. Because I do believe that there is a much more collaborative and sort of heartfelt place that women come from at times that really add to the massive impact that we can have on this area.
I do believe that too. Nova.
Yeah, I agree. I love all the comments that Alex has shared with us. And just to add, I think, any interest group that women are already a part of, if they incorporate this conversation within their events, within their networking meetings that they have, conferences, to again allow a channel for women to explore, to ask questions, to learn information, to connect, and to find these opportunities. There's an event coming up in New York called the Women in IT Summit, which is an excellent opportunity. Women across the board that have an interest in IT to again come together with other women that have that interest, that are involved, maybe for opportunities, maybe for mentorship, maybe for just education. So looking for those conferences and then having these event organizers incorporate a safe space for women, where they can ask these questions and come together, in a way that's seamless and frictionless, offering financial support. A lot of these events and experiences cost money, offering tickets, offering coverage for women to participate as well. So I think these are things, in addition to all the great ideas that Alex shared, that we can do to help bring more women in this space.
Well, we have run out of time, unfortunately, because it has been a great conversation, really. Many thanks, Alex Porter, CEO and founder of ModTech Labs, and Nova Lorraine, WeU ambassador. It has been a great time with you, really. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
And thanks, of course, to the organization of the Global Metaverse Forum for counting on me, and to all of you who are on the other side and you have accompanied us. A pleasure. See you soon.
See you soon.